Rwanda has maintained its key repo rate at just 5%, and commercial lending has also increased. Now we're going to have a conversation with the Central Bank Governor of the National Bank of Rwanda here in Kigali at his office. Thank you very much for your time, Governor.
Thank you.
Mr. Governor, the key repo rate has been maintained to about 5.0%. Now, does this really have an effect on the commercial banks?
Maybe I'll answer it from this angle. Is when we take a central bank a decision on moving the rate or maintaining it, what do we expect, or what is our main objective? It's, I think that the immediate impact we normally see is on the money market rates. That is the interbank rate, the repo rate, the short-term treasury bill rate. That is our main focus in terms of influencing using the central bank rate. And depending on the economic performance or the economic fundamentals, when it keeps moving sort of in one direction, normally we expect to see the central bank, I mean the commercial bank rates are following the decisions or the trend of the central bank policy rates. Otherwise, there are different factors that influence the pricing of the credit of the loans. Central bank position or the central bank rate being one of them, but there are many other factors. So you don't expect the lending rate to immediately shift in line with the quarterly announcements we make with on the key repo rate. But as you've seen in our case, we've had an accommodative monetary policy stance for almost 2 years now. Our key repo rate moved from 7% way back in 2016, and it's been going down. Today we're at 5%. And now we see the same trend with the lending rates. We're moving from 17.3% in 2017. Today we're at 16.4%. So that is positive, and that we are happy that we see transmission of our policy rate really in the commercial bank.
Do you feel like the commercial banks are lending enough to the business people and entrepreneurs?
Yes, based on the numbers of this year, they have lent quite enough. So we see the outstanding credit to the private sector increasing by 20% between September last year and September this year. The new authorized loans increasing by 41% in the first time, the highest we've ever had. In fact, it's doubling. The amount of the new authorized loans is already doubled compared to what is almost doubling compared to what we had last year. And for the first time, we are going to be hitting $1 trillion of new authorized loans this year. So this year has been maybe bumper in terms of the new loans, but that is in line with the overall economic conditions. You see the economy growing at 10.3% in the first half of the year, expected to maintain that sort of speed in the second half of the year. So yes, the banks have contributed to this growth, and the growth has contributed to the bank's performance as well.
What kind of impact has this had on the lending rates? Because we've seen a decline also in the lending rates there over the past 3 years. Does the increased lending to consumers also affect the interest rate there?
Yes, it's not just the increased lending, but also the economic conditions in general that are favorable has had the positive impact on the lending. I talked of reduction from 17.3% in 2017 to 16.4 today. In fact, it was at 17.04 last year. So just between the last year and this year, it has moved from 17.04% to 16.4%. So the good economic conditions that have led to increase in lending have also impacted on the lending rate positively.
This is still 16.4% is still seen as a high for the growing middle class. If I'm going to get a mortgage and I'm getting it at 17%, that's still on a high when we compare it to maybe the developing world. But it's still equitable to the region. Do we foresee it even going further below that to maybe a 10% or 8%?
I think one can say high is relative. So if you pick a number just as it is, it might sound high. But I think where our comfort is, are people able to borrow? Are people able to service their loans? And we see that happening. So while it might sound relatively high, but the fact that it's been also going down, linked to other economic fundamentals, yes, we expect that to continue. But if the economic fundamentals remain positive, because inflation matters to the banks, the cost of doing business matters to the banks, the cost of credit, the level of non-performing loans matter to. So all these make up this interest rate. So as these improve, the cost of doing business, one with technology, we see more efficiency coming to the banking operations, that would have a positive impact on the pricing of their products. The inflation, we've had really stable and low inflation, that has an impact on the pricing. So yes, depending on the market conditions, we expect this to continue going down. But as I said, it's relative to all these factors.
You talked about assets in there somewhere, and assets recovery is coming up as an issue for the lenders. How do we foresee that problem being handled?
Yeah, that's true. I think that's one of the challenges the banks have been dealing with, and we've come up as a regulator to try and bring together all the key players in this matter. We have a meeting on 28th of this month that brings together the banks, the valuers, because we've had challenges with valuation of these securities, the Ministry of Justice, the RDB, the Registrar General's Office. And so we want to meet and see what are the challenges, what can we do to address these challenges. And we hope going forward we should be streamlining the process of really recovering securities on goods that have gone bad, on loans that have gone bad.
Towards the end of last year, the Rwandan franc came under a lot of pressure from the US dollar and other major international currencies. That has kind of stabilized right now. First of all, what has led to the conditions to stabilize right now? Does it have anything to do with our maybe balance of trade position going in there? Or do we foresee the Rwandan franc maintain at the same level of competitiveness with the other major international currencies?
No, in fact, again, I would say the pressure is also relative to the conditions. In fact, what we see this year is we have more pressure than last year. This year, we expect the Rwanda to depreciate at 4.8% by the end of this year, compared to 4% we had last year. And this is mainly because of the nature of or the structure of our economy today. Our economy there's a lot of need for imports for investment. As you saw, as we explained a while ago, the biggest driver of the growth of our import bill over the last 9 months has been capital goods and intermediate goods. Capital goods we needed for investment, for construction of hydropower dams, construction of the airport, roads. So then also intermediate goods, some of them linked to construction, but others linked to manufacturing, inputs to manufacturing. So we still have that need for big imports for investment, and that puts pressure on our exchange rates. And so for us, we think the levels we are at today relatively comfortable based on this structure of the economy we're having. Exports have been growing and in fact being diversified, which gives us comfort going forward that we have this depreciation, yes, but it's in line with the economic fundamentals, and therefore it's not really detrimental to the economic performance as such.
So as a regulator, you don't foresee yourselves coming in and stepping in and trying to maintain sanity, if we're to call it that?
Yeah, no, we don't we don't influence the pricing of the flour on the exchange market. We only come in when there are speculative tendencies, if there are unusual movements on the market that are outside the economic fundamentals, as we say. But if the pricing is moving in line with the market conditions that are linked to the economic performance in general, we leave it to the market.
Okay, now to move on to something we love, we the millennials. There's been conversation around things like Libra and digital currencies here, and things supported by cryptocurrencies and blockchains. Now, is the central bank in a position to be able to, one, put out a digital currency in the future, and two, where do we stand right now in terms of cybersecurity with the banking sector?
Fine. These are two maybe separate questions, though they link into each other somehow. One, let me deal with the issue of cybersecurity first, because whether we have Libra or by the way, when we talk of digital currency, I hope we would talk of digital payment means. Today we are fully in the digital payment means, and you, the millionaires, as you said, are enjoying that. You don't need to carry cash as a Rwandan millionaire today. In some areas, depending on which kafunda you go to, but in some areas you might need to be paying by cash. But yes, what we are trying to do as an economy is to really make sure that wherever you go in this country, you can pay using your phone, you can pay using your card. And this is working out in many instances, in many areas. So already people that don't need to carry cash are comfortable. They don't have to carry cash. You can buy your goods and services. Like today, no Rwandan is paying for any like the water, the electricity, airtime, and all that. All that is paid online. All government services, and government is leading by example, all government services have moved digital and are paid using digital means. So again, we are happy that we've seen innovation in technology. So with the cheaper and affordable, easy to distribute or to deploy POSs that will make it easy now for any merchant anywhere, any shopkeeper anywhere, the motorcycle riders. You can all pay for those using digital means. So we are more focused on this than maybe on the digital currency, because at the end of the day, you don't need the currency anyway. So you have your money in the bank and you're transacting without having to carry this money in your pockets. And in terms of cybersecurity, because apart from the payment system that are fully or digitized and therefore risk in terms of cyber crime, even the normal banking operations are all done like today in the central bank. We do all our operations digitally. So we enforce cybersecurity measures across the industry, starting with ourselves. And this is from two angles in terms of your systems. How are your IT security systems strong? We require banks to do testing annually or periodically. Then we look at the governance issues on the IT. And we do these audits on an annual basis. So this is something we are taking seriously as we are heavily getting involved with IT. Of course, we need to make sure that we are safe. And there are regulations, but also practices we follow up to see what is happening in the market.
That was the Governor of the National Bank of Rwanda, Mr. John Rwangombwa, speaking to us here in Kigali, Rwanda. Now, if you want to be part of this conversation, you can tweet us at CNBC Africa or tweet me directly at @TheRealKwizera.